Hello, listener, and welcome to the Building It Online podcast. Whether you're an established business owner or you're just getting started, we are here to help you build a better online business faster. This is the place where you can tune in and learn from experienced entrepreneurs about what it really takes to grow your business in today's online environment. And be sure to check out buildingitonlinepodcast.com for more expert interviews, key insights, and up-to-date growth strategies to take your business to the next level.
Got a really unique interview for you today. Suzanne is here with us from Lunapads, which has been around for 20 years. And just in case you guys are doing the math, that was right when the internet started. So Facebook ads and e-commerce and all of the terms that we use in building an online podcast here, they weren't around 20 years ago. So those are all relatively new terms. And she has the experience of actually knocking door to door, trying to get her product mass marketed to a larger industry, and then shifting into e-com, which actually saved her business. So it's really unique to hear her angle on it, what she's been through, some of her biggest aha moments and the biggest misconceptions that she's come across. She's got a unique industry and a lot of feedback that anybody who's looking to start a business or has just started a business would be able to benefit from. In addition to that, she's got an announcement coming, I believe, next week, as long as we stay on track and we launch this on the 24th of February. Then she's got a big announcement coming the first week in March. So go to lunapads.com, check it out. Like she said, subscribe to her newsletter, see what that is coming up. And without any more, I will drop the interview right here. Thanks. Let's go into the story of Lunapads and what Lunapads is, and then we'll get into yours.
Lunapads is a line of cloth washable menstrual pads and period underwear, and very soon menstrual cups, which are all alternatives and replacements to mainstream disposable single-use pads and tampons. So for people who get a period, they're usually going to go to the drugstore and buy your disposable pads or tampons. And there is now a vast variety of reusable products that are essentially way more eco-friendly, perform better, are using materials that are more sustainable and actually more comfortable. So it's for people who want to have a period in a more, let me say that again. It's for people who want to have a period where they can use products that they feel confident in using, and they choose them because they want to have a zero waste period, or they want to use organic products that are better for the environment. And they just want to reduce their carbon footprint by producing less waste.
Nice. So a lot of that is around the environmental angle. Is that one of the big motivating factors for you to get into this space?
I would say that the inception of Lunapads was primarily a choice to find an alternative that was more comfortable and less harmful. So the founder of Lunapads, Madeleine Shaw, she was experiencing health complications from using disposable tampons. They were giving her infections. So the genesis of it was to find something that was not going to be causing irritations and rashes and health effects. But what she also realized at the same time was that it was an option to create less of a negative environmental footprint. And then the added benefit, which she totally didn't appreciate would happen, was that she actually began feeling better about her period. She felt better about her body, and just had an idea that, feeling good about your body can actually create better well-being. So that light bulb moment that happened made her feel like she wanted to share that with the rest of the world.
That's awesome. That's, as a marketer myself, that would be a difficult one to really put into an ad, but that's a really cool story and a really cool angle that people probably don't expect looking at this.
Well, and hence that's the huge marketing challenge around selling Lunapads.
Yeah. So you said that she was the founder. So are you co-founder, or is there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I'm the co-founder. So I met her in 1999. We were both taking a leadership course together. And we were both taking this course because we just wanted to find and meet people who were different from us. Okay. So for your listeners who are kind of thinking, well, how do I get started and how do I find a business partner? My advice is get out there and meet people, and don't necessarily go to the places where you would normally be attracted to. Go to meetings and networking events and sessions.
The definition of insanity, right? Just doing the same thing.
Yeah, and exactly. And so we met because I was looking for meeting people who were not in the corporate world and were more either entrepreneurial or in the not-for-profit sector or even in the government sector.
Awesome.
And doing public service. And she was looking for someone who, had business experience and finance experience because she knew she wanted to take Lunapads to the next level. And so
That's
we
awesome.
bumped into each other, and that's how we realized that our skill sets were really different but complementary.
That's really awesome. So let's go into that a little bit more and talk about your background and what got you to that networking event.
Yeah, sure. I went to business school in the 80s, and when I graduated, I went straight into the accounting profession. I decided that becoming a CPA was a really great foundation for business and getting excellent training to ensure that I kind of understood the fundamentals of all businesses, because when you train as a CPA, you're exposed to dozens, if not hundreds of other businesses, and you go in and you examine them, you might audit them, you might give them consulting experience. So I knew that that was something I wanted to have as a foundation. And then when I got my designation, I went into the corporate world and started working for a publicly traded company and learned all about shareholder value and how to increase the value of the company. And after about 8 years, I realized, this is interesting, but it's not really making me feel like I'm really doing good in the world. And I wanted to do things that were more aligned with things that I was discovering, like environmental benefits and social justice and feminism. And so I realized I needed a change, but I didn't know how to get that change in my career. And one of my mentors just said, hey, why don't you take this course and start kind of getting out there and networking and meeting more people. And that's when I met Madeleine and discovered what she was doing as an entrepreneur. And meeting Madeleine and joining Lunapads with her and co-founding it into what it is today was basically my stepping stone to trying out entrepreneurial work and seeing if I liked it. And I definitely became very interested in it, because when you're an entrepreneur, it's almost like you're trying to solve a problem. Like, how do I create something that people want? And then how do I sell it? And then how do I make sure I make money? And how do I make sure it's sustainable? So that was what really attracted me.
That's awesome. So that's a really cool transition. I know there's a lot of people out there that listen to this that are currently in the corporate world or currently stuck in what we call the JOB or the 9-to-5 and are looking for something else to do. We also did a episode recently on Introvert's Guide to Networking, because it's not the most natural thing to do. So bringing up that networking is a really good transition, I think, just from one of the things that we've talked about in the past, and then going out and meeting people with a relatively low expectation, just getting more confident and whatnot. So it's cool to hear the end result of that for you was what you actually wanted from the get-go to go out and find, and maybe didn't quite know at the time. So is Lunapads the first company? I know you said you've consulted on a lot, but is Lunapads the first company that you've started or co-founded?
Yes, it is.
Nice. So in the journey of you being a CPA and then going to this networking event to where you are today, I think you said that was around 2000, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. So it's been about 20 years. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So in that journey, is there anything that stands out? And there's probably a million different examples of this, but is there anything strong that stands out about how your perspective has changed both business or professionally and personally in your life from now owning a business?
Oh, that's a really good question. I mean, I think that for me, the type of personality that I am, I would confess that I am an introvert. So I would say that as someone with a business background and also being an introvert, it really requires, being an entrepreneur really requires stepping way out of your comfort zone. And I know for me, I felt way more confident because I had a business background and because I was trained that way. And yet I still find myself being pushed beyond those boundaries of what I learned in school. And so it's just a really interesting challenge to always be pushing yourself to find out what's the next thing that you have to learn and adjust to, because in the past 20 years, as you can imagine, a lot of things have changed in business. I mean, when we first started, the internet was just starting to gain some steam in terms of e-commerce.
Wow.
And Madeleine had the foresight to actually launch a website in 1998. Like she had already started e-commerce, and it was no man's land back then. And it's evolved significantly. So I think just a recognition that you're constantly learning and being open to pivoting as you go along, because our business model has definitely evolved over the past 20 years.
Nice. So I want to go into both of those things, but the business model evolving as well as the online angle. And one of the questions that I have here is if you guys are 100% e-commerce, or if you also have physical locations, but I think you might know the answer if you didn't even have a website when you started.
Yeah. So yeah, I think our story is really interesting because before e-commerce was a thing, the business model of most entrepreneurs, if you're selling a product, is I really need to get my product available in mass market. Mm-hmm. So when we first started out, we were literally knocking on doors and going to stores and asking them to carry the product, and then also attending trade shows. And it was hard because the sector that we're in, menstrual products, is not an easy sector to be in.
Yeah.
And also you're asking a customer to make a change in their habits, which are really hard to make. And so it was really tough, and we almost went under. And what saved us was essentially e-commerce. And knowing that every day we would check our email and see orders coming in, and realizing that we were getting the cash the same day, if not the next day, versus selling to stores or distributors and having to wait 30 days for your cash, and also just waiting for the time for them to even place an order. So we started out with a business model of selling to other stores and distributors, and realized that that was not working, and pivoted to invest every single penny we had left to building a really great website that was able to really tell customers exactly what we offered them and why. And essentially that saved our business.
That's such an interesting story, because I feel like people nowadays just assume that it's the opposite, right? Like you start online, or you start with small quantities, and then you hope one day that you could get something in, like a big box retailer. So to hear that it was, back when you guys started, it was the opposite of that is pretty neat. Just hearing you going and knocking on doors and asking for, mass orders, like for some reason terrifies me. So,
and I often give that advice to entrepreneurs who kind of have their sights on mass retail. And I say to them, prove your business model first online if you can. Mm-hmm. And, but having said that, it's not always the case for every product or service, because I'm mentoring an entrepreneur right now, and she's having a really hard time selling her product online. And she happened to meet someone who is a large shipbuilder and has employees who need her product. And now she is pivoting to being a large wholesale manufacturer.
Oh, that's cool.
And she's doing really well. So it just kind of depends on your product and your audience.
Yeah. That's so important for everybody to understand, that like the teachings that are out there and the generalizations and all of the YouTube videos and podcasts that you could ever listen to are built towards the statistics. But there's definitely like a level of confidence that you have to have as the entrepreneur and the person that knows more about that space than anyone, that you have to make the decision that's right for you. And I think that's a great example. Mm-hmm. So over the last 20 years, this might be a hard one. I'm interested at what your biggest misconceptions were getting into starting the business, and then what your biggest aha moments were.
It's probably similar to what we've already talked about. I think that the misconception is that you have enough money and enough time to really be successful. And the thing that I like to tell people when they're starting out is try and have enough of a treasure chest or a nest egg or war chest, if whatever you want to call it, enough capital to really finance your business for the next 2 years, because you have to learn, you have to spend money, and it's not something that you can just necessarily do with a credit card or a small line of credit
Right.
if you're really going to be devoted to it. And again, because we started this 20 years ago, the biggest aha moment was realizing that the internet was definitely
E-com.
a very, e-com, I should say, e-com was the best way for us to survive and grow our business.
Yeah.
And then again, the other thing that evolved for us was social media. And so, I mean, these are all things that people know now, but if you can imagine being in business 20 years ago, it was a very different place. And you had to decide if you were advertising in a magazine and whether or not you could afford to advertise on radio or television. So that's been a big thing. But, if I think about what I've learned maybe in the last even 5 years, is that it's really crucial to know exactly who your perfect customer is and speak to them. And then obviously you can keep broadening your message to go beyond that. But if you're not crystal clear on your customer, it can be confusing when people come to you and say, well, what are you actually offering? Are you for me? And you can waste a lot of money on marketing if you're too broad in your messaging.
Yeah.
And, you can waste a lot of money in trying to reach too many influencers, for example, and, they're not really going to bring you the customers that you need. So it's about being really smart about what you offer, and you can't be everything to all people.
Yeah.
Because you're going to spend too much money.
Yeah. That's a conversation that I have with a lot of clients of mine where it's like, you need to have like the person, right? Like name your avatar and like describe everything that you know about that individual. And they get nervous because they're like, well, there's all these other age ranges and just different people that we could target. And it's like, you're not excluding them. You're just focusing all of the terminology and the verbiage and the imagery and everything else on that person. And then anybody else that kind of rides that wave is also okay. So
yeah, that's exactly what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
The other thing that I've learned is that it's actually really interesting and important to listen to the outliers, the people that maybe don't have a strong voice and a strong presence, but they are the key or the window to your next product or a way to differentiate yourself.
I like that one.
Yeah. So I'll give you an example of that in our business. So we make menstrual products, and obviously we sell products to girls and women, but there is a segment of the population that identifies transgender, and they don't identify as women or girls. And yet these individuals may still have a period. And so we were getting feedback, and our staff were telling us as well, our marketing needs to be more inclusive. We need to look at our language and look at our product offerings and see whether or not we are excluding people by constantly using language like women or constantly offering a product that is skimpy bikini style instead of something more gender non-conforming like a pair of boxer briefs. Yeah. And at the time that this was first brought to our attention, I was like, I don't know if we have the budget to do that. That's taking a risk. And when we had the financial means to say, let's make some changes, let's broaden our product offering, it was met with huge success because that segment was being ignored and nobody was serving them. And so it's just a kind of interesting thought to say, like, don't necessarily just go after the low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
You can actually find some good niche segments and ones that deserve to be served.
Yeah. That's a really good I really like that example. I've not heard that before. I think it's interesting too that you use the term low-hanging fruit because for everyone here, you're friends with the Abigo founder as well, and that's how I met you. And both of you guys are in a market that I would consider about the farthest thing from low-hanging fruit because it is a shift in lifestyle. Like you're changing people's entire behaviors. But I know with the Abigo stuff, my girlfriend has got me on it, and it's 100% like worth doing the lifestyle shift. It's just a matter of like how you guys market it, and how you not even market, but just like present it to people and being able to tell that story. So it's cool to hear, listening to the ones that are not actually at the end of the funnel, but maybe somewhere along the way as well.
Well, and that also goes to marketing a little bit in terms of like, we, as well as Abigo, we're not about shaming people to say, stop using plastic.
Right.
It's more about discovering a better way to care for your food, discovering a better way to care for your body, and seeing the benefits of it,
Right.
instead of negative messaging.
Right. Keeping it all positive. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. So let's go into the actual like technical parts of what you're doing. So a lot of the people that are listening to this are, working from a garage or a coffee shop, and they don't have any, manufacturing resources or anything like that. They're just trying to build their first Shopify store, get out there and see if someone wants or has any interest in their product. You guys, I would assume, have you have a facility in Vancouver. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. We have a warehouse and an office, and then we contract out all the manufacturing to local garment manufacturers, as well as our first production run is coming overseas very shortly.
Oh, nice.
So yes, we're doing manufacturing.
That's awesome. And then do you do all of the shipping and processing yourself, or is that handled from someone else?
We are currently doing that all in-house.
That's awesome. I've helped with that at a plastics company that I used to work with. And that is one of the most complex parts, in my opinion, of running a physical product business, is getting all of the orders done, fulfilled on time and everything else. So that's a difficult challenge there.
It's a difficult challenge, and also yet it gives you great control as to how things happen and how fast it happens. And it's easy to outsource it if you've got a very standard product that is easy to kind of pick and pack. But it's harder when you've got something that's a slightly more customized or requires a little bit more care and attention.
That makes sense. So in terms of different, excuse me, relating to the e-com side of your business, where have you found the most success in terms of different geographic regions? Like, are you completely global and in different marketing channels?
Mm-hmm. Yes, we're global. I would say most of our customers are in North America, in Canada, and the US. And most of our business is from our website. You asked earlier what channels we also sell in. Because we started out in wholesale, we still have a decent wholesale footprint in that you can get our products in Canada at all the Whole Food stores across Canada.
Cool.
Drugstores across Canada, and then a lot of your health food stores across Canada in the brick and mortar space. But mostly our business is done online, and we have our products available through our own brand on Amazon and a few other online stores that are selling wellness products and things that are just on the organic or eco side of things. But most of our marketing is done through social media. And, as you can imagine, a product like ours, Instagram is really valuable. And then to a lesser extent, say Facebook. And then Google ads, your sort of traditional marketing channels.
Okay, that's cool. How was getting into Amazon? I know a lot of people are nervous to start that trend.
It wasn't easy, I will admit. We had to go through the effort of actually reclaiming our brand because when we started out, we didn't really think Amazon was the right place for us and for our brand. And meanwhile, other people kind of caught on and actually bought our products and were reselling it on Amazon. So that's maybe one piece of advice, is to actually make sure that you protect your brand and watch out for folks who are maybe reselling it under their own store, but really not representing your brand the way you want it. So not being experts in Amazon, we actually hired an agency to help us kind of reclaim the brand and tighten it up and make sure that we were the only resellers on Amazon. So it wasn't easy, and we contracted that part out. But now that that's all been cleaned up, we manage most of that in-house again. But it's not... Amazon's not, I would say, not the best channel for us, just because we feel that our brand is a premium brand and it doesn't really, it's not as well served being on Amazon. It's just making sure that you kind of take care of your intellectual property and real estate to make sure that nobody's misrepresenting you.
So just out of curiosity, because I don't do any Amazon myself, any sort of Amazon advertising. However, I do live in South Lake Union, Seattle, which is Amazon hub. But just out of curiosity, to protect your brand on Amazon, do you have to have a store selling your product, or are you able to go in and say, hey, that's mine, it's copyrighted, please take it down?
I don't know if I know the answer to that. I mean, we decided that we needed to have a store to ensure our products were available, but we don't have a large product offering because, again, we feel we're way better served having our own site, but at least protecting our brand.
Awesome. So let me see here. I've got a couple other questions. I think the biggest one that I'm interested in is advice for someone starting. So if you had to go back, with your product idea, I won't say 20 years. Let's say the internet still exists. Facebook ads are here.
Yeah.
If you had to go back to where you had, you met your co-founder and you guys were talking about your idea, what would you do differently today that you might not have done 20 years ago? We can focus on the e-com side of it, I guess, because I know it's a very different timeline.
Yeah, I've probably already said it before, but it was mostly to make sure that it's important to make sure that you really understand your customer and what your brand represents, and make sure that you show up on the internet and on your website and on your social channels very consistently, and that you stay true to what you believe your customers want. And if you vary from it, it causes confusion for customers because they don't really know what you stand for.
Right.
So I would say just be really clear on what you stand for and keep that messaging super clear. The other thing that served us very well is being very transparent and authentic. And I think that that's a really important way to stand out from your competitors, especially if it's becoming commoditized. And you then you're competing on price, for example. And that's kind of a race to the bottom if people keep discounting to try and attract customers. And so we've always been true to our values around being transparent, using the most sustainable textiles and fabrics, and just being real authentic in who we are, and not kind of just saying something just because it's cool or it sounds like the right thing to do. It's just, that's been what's kind of kept us solid and straight and successful.
I've seen that with some other companies that I've worked with, where when they had a deeper motivation, a deeper why, it was a lot easier for them to really identify who they were. And you guys, with the eco-friendly and all the different reasons that you've mentioned here, it just makes sense how that would work, because you have so many more decisions to make if you don't have those values and you don't have that like North Star, that compass. Whereas when you do, it's like, well, obviously we have to go with this because that's who we are. That's what we stand for. So that's cool to hear. I think that's all the questions that I've got, other than the last one, which is books or podcasts you would recommend that have maybe helped you along your journey that other people could benefit from.
I wish I had more time for books and podcasts, but the one that I enjoy is How I Built This. That's pretty popular. I'm sure your readers or your listeners would know about that.
Yeah.
And I'm a fan of Yvon Chouinard, the founder of Patagonia, and his book called Let My People Go Surfing, I think is the name of the book.
Awesome. I love Patagonia so much.
Well, we like to kind of inside say to ourselves, like, we're the period. Well, sorry, I don't have that phrase right, but we're the Patagonia of period products.
I like that a lot.
Just because, we really value the stance that Patagonia has around, being an apparel business, but also being activists at the same time.
Yeah.
And they really stand for the environment. And I wouldn't say we're necessarily focused on the environment as our primary value, but it's, I would say our primary value is being as inclusive and welcoming as a period brand can be, because everyone experiences their period in a very different way, and there's no one way to have one. And we just want people to feel really welcome and say, this is the best place for you to have a period because we've got something that'll meet your needs. That's
awesome. I like that a lot, the Patagonia of period products. Cool. Well, lastly, I will give you this opportunity. If anybody here wants to get in touch with you or find Lunapads, what's the best way to do that?
Definitely. Yeah. So lunapads.com for sure. And we have a very fun Instagram page that's just Lunapads. And then we're also on Twitter as Lunapads and Facebook as Lunapads. So anywhere on the social channels, you will find us. We would love it if you signed up for our newsletter, because then you're first to hear about new products and what we're working on. And we're actually working on something extremely exciting. It's going to launch in March. And,
Nice.
if you sign up for our newsletter, you'll be the first to hear about it and, perhaps get an intro deal or something like that. So just come to our website and sign up. And yeah, we'd love to engage with you on social or wherever and just see what is happening in our world. It's actually a really interesting time right now. There's a lot of interesting conversations happening about things like period equity, which means, how to make sure that people of all economic and social situations can afford and have access to menstrual products. I think people in the Western world kind of assume that, of course, if you have a period, you can manage it. And there are people who are in the global South, or people who are incarcerated, or people who are homeless, who have very challenging access to the products that they need to have a dignified period every month. So there's just, some really interesting conversations that we get into. So if any of your listeners are interested in that, then, we'd love for them to join in the conversation with us.
That's fantastic. I love it. I'm also seeing here, I was just looking for your opt-in so I could get those emails, and I see that you're a certified B Corporation, just as a bonus here at the end. But that is one of my favorite things to see, and one of my dreams is to actually own a B Corp soon.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because that is probably, from a professional perspective, one of the things that I'm most proud of is getting B Corp status, because it's not an easy thing to accomplish.
Yeah.
But what it has done is it's actually helped guide us to be a better company, because there are so many great examples and standards that they support in all aspects of your business. So by becoming a B Corp, we've learned about how to even be a better company. And it's almost like a bit of it's a measure to say, well, if you get this score, you can actually score better by doing all these things. And so,
oh, that's cool.
The one thing that I'm really proud of is, like, when we first became a B Corp, we just eked by and got the over 80 score to become a B Corp. And in the past 4 years in a row, our score has just grown and improved so much that we've been a top 10% B Corp around the world.
That's awesome.
So I'm really proud of it. And I think that our team works extremely hard to make sure that we do everything that we can to be, sustainable, have a great supply chain, support customers and make donations, and just do everything. All our business decisions go through the lens of B Corp to try and be as best as we can.
That's fantastic. I'm going to actually put together a episode for this of the people that we've spoken with that are B Corps. It's very few, and make a goal to get some more on here. That's pretty cool. So
yeah, and I'd be happy to introduce you to people who are B Corp experts who would be happy to share that kind of, like, what does it take to become a B Corp? Yeah,
that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I really, really appreciate this. It's been super educational. I know everyone here will as well. And I will I'll sign off with that. I'm just pumped. This is awesome. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Mike. It was a real pleasure